If you enjoy this video, please hit that subscribe button down below. It would massively help me out. Let's get into the news though. So, like I've just mentioned, this is a news video, and the first one is obvious. We're going to do this in a sell, loan, buy way. So first, who've we sold? Well, Calvin Phillips has now officially been announced as a Man City player, and we all knew that was going to happen. If you want my reaction to that, I did do a video quite recently on that, so that is on the channel for you to check out. So obviously I've already talked about my thoughts on that, but he has gone to Manchester City now. It has been announced, and I'm sort of happy for him, really. I mean, like, he was going to leave at some point. That's the way that modern football is. We all loved him at Leeds. He did amazing things for us. He got us back to the Premier League. Him and Bielsa's relationship was amazing, and it was something special that we don't really see in football very often. But he has gone now, so we're moving on to the next era of our club. So well done to Calvin for getting his move, and I wish him all the best in the future. That's all I'm going to leave it as. If you want my full thoughts, I've done a video on it on the channel. So that is all. The only person we've officially sold. But Raphinha to Barcelona, again, there's more twists in the tail. It now seems like Raphinha is actually going to reject Chelsea, Arsenal, anybody else who comes in for him. That could have been a very different story. He's going to reject anybody else who comes in for him, apparently, in favour of staying at Leeds until after the World Cup if he can't get his move to Barcelona this summer. If he can get his Barcelona move this summer, he will go, and that'll be a fee of around 70 million euros, which is about 60 million pounds. I think that's roughly the ballpark we're playing in there. If he can get his move, he will go to Barcelona this summer. If he can't go to Barcelona, there's a good chance we actually hold on to him for next season. Now, what that means for somebody else who I'm going to talk about later on in the video, I do not know whether we buy that player anyway in the anticipation that players take a little while to bed in or what, but watch this space on Raphinha, because it could be that we actually keep him until after the World Cup, which would be a massive bonus for Leeds fans. That's the selling area. We're not going to sell any other players apart from those, I don't think, unless it is the likes of Helder Costa or Kiko Casilla, which we haven't had any real news on so far. So if there is any news, I'll obviously update you all on my opinions and thoughts about it. But if you've been watching my channel for a long time, I mean, my second ever video was a big picture of Kiko Casilla saying sell him now after that Crawley FA Cup game. So I think you already know my thoughts on what we need to do with Casilla. But if the transfer comes up, I will obviously talk about it on the channel. Other than that, there is no outgoings. We have loaned a player though, and this one I think is a really, really interesting one. We've loaned Charlie Cresswell to Millwall. Now, I think this is an absolutely ideal move for him. He's that sort of player. He's a beast, he's aggressive, he's strong, and he's young, and I think he'll fit in really well in that Millwall back line and have an amazing season in the Championship. I can't see him having anything other than a brilliant season in the Championship, to be honest. Hopefully the Millwall fans accept him as one of their own, because historically Millwall and Leeds don't particularly like each other very much. But hopefully they accept him as one of their own for this season. He does really well. And really what we're hoping for is a Ben White situation in which the Premier League club loans a young centre-back out, does really well in the Championship, and then comes back in and goes back into the first team. What I hope doesn't happen is what Ben White then did and went to Arsenal for 50 million. I hope that Charlie Cresswell comes back and he's a much better player for it. He's had a season of first team football, and I hope that he comes back into our team a better player and a better bloke, really, a more well-rounded person in general, and hope he does a bit of growing up this year in terms of football maturity, really, more than anything, learning when to do things and when not to do things. One of the things he talked about when he made his, I think it was his debut, it was one of the games that he played last season, and it was against West Ham, and he said in his interview that the biggest difference between the under-23s football and first team football is that people like Michail Antonio, they always do the right thing. They don't really make mistakes. You get the ball into feet and he'll find a pass and he'll do it and he'll hold it up and he'll do everything. He'll make all the right decisions every time. And he also said that he thought that he'd done a job on Antonio, and that he'd completely stopped him from scoring for that entire game. But when it came to it, right at the end, Michail Antonio scored the winner, and that was a little bit of a learning thing for Charlie Cresswell there, to just never switch off. The job is never done until the fat lady sings, till that referee blows that whistle. And I think a season in the Championship is brilliant for him, because he will come up against some absolute brutes up front for those Championship sides that he's going to be playing against. And I think it's a really, really good learning opportunity. And as he's a Leeds lad, hopefully he comes into the first team and is our next Calvin Phillips, in that he's an academy product who can make us proud and do really, really well in the first team. So watch this space on Charlie Cresswell, because he should be having a really good season. And to be honest, I probably will check in on him from time to time, see how he's doing. I mean, I doubt that any Millwall fans will watch this, but if they do, I'd like to tweet me throughout the season, or comment on my videos or whatever. If Charlie Cresswell's done really well, I'd like to know how he's doing, because obviously I won't be watching Millwall in, week out. But if you are a Millwall fan and you're watching this, you've got a really, really good, promising, strong player there, who's at a very young age, strong beyond his years and aggressive, and I think he'll be a perfect Millwall player this season. So there are no loans other than that. We have bought a player in Darko JB, who I've now found out his name is pronounced JB through watching the Leeds United official first interview with him. He's an 18-year-old attacking midfielder from Manchester City who we've bought for £5 million, and he will be going into the under-23s, but he is ambitious. I saw in that interview he talked about how many debuts under-23s had last season. I keep saying under-23s. Last season it wasn't the under-23s. This season it's under-21s. Don't ask why, I don't know. But yeah, so Darko JB, he says he's coming in to the under-21s, but he wants to make an impression, and you can see that there's a path to the first team. So that's really good to hear, to be honest. It's not like he's just coming here for a bit more money or whatever. He's coming here because he really does want to get into that first team and play some football. So I'm all for it. If he can get on the bench and maybe get a few minutes and prove that he's good, then that's good for us. Any more good players is brilliant for us. £5 million seems steep for an 18-year-old who actually has come full circle, because he actually came from Millwall to Man City when he was 14. I think they bought him for about 300 grand. A 14-year-old, which is getting into a bit of the weird side of football, that a 14-year-old is worth 300 grand to Man City. But obviously he was identified as a good young talent and has now come to Leeds, and hopefully we'll be seeing a lot more of Darko JB in the future, the young Ghanaian-born attacking midfielder. The last person we're going to come on to, actually no, not the last person we're going to come on to, Luis Sinisterra from Feyenoord. He's a similar player to Cody Gakpo. He's an attacking midfielder / winger who's got some very good goal contributions in the Eredivisie, the Dutch division this year, and Fabrizio Romano has reported that we're going in for him, and if we were to buy him, it would be Feyenoord's record sale ever. So the young Colombian winger, I think he's 23 years old, young Colombian winger / attacking midfielder, for about 25 million euros. He's had 12 goals this season and 7 assists, I think, in the league. I'm going to do a video tomorrow night, or Wednesday or Thursday, and I'm going to do a bit more of a deep dive on him and tell you a bit more about him, but he looks very, very exciting, so watch this space on that one. And for me, the last two actually, I keep thinking it's the last one, we've been linked to Harry Winks again, and this is one of those ever-present links that just doesn't seem like it's ever going to go away. We've been linked to him again, but I'm going to add into this the fact that Tyler Adams apparently has had a deal agreed between Leeds United and RB Leipzig for £20 million, which I think is a good price for him. I know the other day I mentioned how Leipzig was saying that they'd be willing to loan him out. I don't know if that was just smoke and mirrors or what, but it looks like it's going to go through any day now, and that's £20 million for that young midfielder who I have also done a video on. So If he does sign, I'll do another video on him, showing a bit more statistical. Last time I compared him to Sander Berge, who we were also linked to, but this time I'll make a bit of a different video, so look out for that on the channel in the future if he signs. Yeah, so Harry Winks has been linked, but I think those are now dead in the water, those links, because it looks like Tyler Adams is going to be a done deal, which is really, really good news for Leeds, especially to get these players in before we go on that pre-season tour to Australia. Allows us to get those players in, get them to bed in, and get them used to the system. But he should be used to the system because he knows Jesse Marsch very well. He's worked under him at Leipzig, at New York Red Bulls, and I think when Jesse Marsch worked with Bob Bradley for the US national team as well, if my memory serves correct. So they know each other very well, and it is a good signing, and hopefully he seems like he would be a nice bloke as well. Brendan Aronson said good things about him. Jesse Marsch has said good things about him. So he's already got a couple of people in that camp who he knows and who he can talk to when he first arrives to make him feel at home. So hopefully that deal gets done. I think in my previous video I talked about Mo Kamara, and I think that one's off now because I think if we get Tyler Adams, we're not going to go for Mo Kamara as well, but a midfield the whole two holding midfielders of Rocker and Adams seems a very tasty proposition for next season, so I'm excited about that one. So keep your eyes peeled for that video on Luis Sinisterra, a bit more of a deep dive later in the week. But for this one, it is done. I don't know really what to say when I sign these off. This one is over, for it is done. I don't know, sound like some sort of weird poet, but that's it for this one. See you on the next one, and in the meantime, you will see me on the midweek fix tomorrow night on the Just Joe football show, the Joe Wainman channel. I'll be on the midweek fix along with JT, Lewis and Joe. So thanks for watching this one, and I'll see you next time on Leeds Lately.